Welcome back to the channel. This week's video is a pickups video, and I've got two new games in amongst my collection here from two of my favourite franchises of all time, which I'm super excited to talk about. So let's get straight into what I've picked up in the last few weeks. Okay, so we're going to work from old to new, low value to slightly higher value, and I'll start off with a few small pickups that I've added to my collection over the last couple of weeks. These are predominantly CEX pickups, actually almost always all across the board, with the exception of the new releases and one eBay purchase. But let me show you these with you first. So this first one is a bit of a throwback for me, and it is a game that I paid a whole 50p for at CEX recently, and it was inspired by a video that Callum over at the Retro Ghetto did, where he reviewed the Master League on Pro Evolution Soccer, specifically PES 2008. Now, the interesting story with this one is this is the last PES I ever owned before I converted to FIFA. Something I was very sad about. I was a staunch PES lover and absolutely anti-FIFA for a very long time. We used to play organised online leagues back at my old job, and we loved PES, specifically the version before this, which I think was it 6? And the reason that I picked this one up is that this is probably the last one I played, so from a memories perspective, the last kind of great PES as far as I'm concerned. But also, it's the one that sent me over the edge to FIFA. And the reason for that, if you remember this game, if you played this back on the 360, is that when this released, the online code was fundamentally broken. So the leagues that we've been playing on the previous version, which we all look forward to carrying on the new version, didn't work. And there was no sign or no fix at the time that was released to make that work better. So it meant that the online game that we'd put so much time and effort into building these kind of manually organised leagues and all that kind of stuff just fell by the wayside. At the time as well, I think it just coincided neatly with FIFA's pivot from kind of very arcade to some more simulation. And yeah, from FIFA, I guess FIFA 2008 or FIFA 08 onwards, that became the FIFA that I was on. And I think, was it I can't remember the name of the card game. What's the FIFA card game? Ultimate Team, there we go. Ultimate Team released only a couple of years later, and then that was me hooked for another decade. I'll be honest and say I haven't bought a FIFA or an EAFC now for a few years, nor have I played much of them. I kind of dip in when they become free on Game Pass. I've well and truly fallen off the FIFA wagon, but back in the day, you know, PES was my game. So I was keen to pick that up and have another go and just remember the good old times. Another cheap one that I bought more for the franchise, and it's unusual to pick up cheap games on the GameCube, and that is Die Hard Vendetta. Now, I love the Die Hard trilogy on PlayStation 1. I think I have it on the Sega Saturn. I also owned it on the PC back in the day, and I've still got the PC big box. I know this is pretty poor. I picked it up more because I'd seen it a few times in my local CEX. It wasn't expensive, and I thought it'd be a fun one to just try out on stream one night, just to see exactly how bad it really is. And then, as I said, I'm a big fan of the franchise. Bruce Willis back in the day was, you know, my action hero, so quite keen to pick that one up and just add it to my little Die Hard shrine, which I'll show you in the B-roll. And then the last of the kind of, I guess, vanilla, affordable games, if you can call it that, is actually on the PS5, and this was surprisingly cheap. I already own this on iPad. Bizarrely, I bought this on an iPad for the iPad before I went on holiday and played it on a plane. I think I shared some footage of that a while back on my shorts, but I realistically wanted to own all of these on console, and that is Assassin's Creed Mirage. Now, I'm eventually want to make sure that I have all of the Assassin's Creed games. I have everything, I think, up until Shadows. I don't own Shadows yet, so I was missing this from the collection. I've added this on PS5. I will try and pick up Shadows at some point when it becomes affordable. These aren't games that I put a huge amount of time into anymore. I used to love the early Assassin's Creeds, but I think I paid £15 for that in CEX, which I always think is surprising when you get games on PS5 at that kind of price. So it felt worth picking up to me. Then from CEX were two other pickups. Now, these weren't expensive, again, and the reasons for buying them vary, but I'll show you them both. So the first one we'll go with is a game franchise that I actually don't have any real affiliation for. But when I saw this behind the glass cabinet, which normally means it's going to be collectible or expensive, I was really surprised at how much this actually cost. And that is Saints Row, the Notorious edition on Xbox One. Now I'll show you with some B-roll what this really looks like and what's in here. But the reason I bought this, if I'm being brutally honest, is that I think I paid £5 for it, right? £5 is, you know, next to nothing, is it really, for a game? And it was because it was priced at what the vanilla game is normally priced at. So CEX often do this with kind of their big boxes or the collectibles or the sleeved stuff. And I thought for £5, for what this actually is and the condition that it's in, which is excellent, by the way, it looks like it's hardly ever been used. I thought, it would be worth a go. At some point, again, I'll play this on stream, give it a few hours and see if it takes me. But it's a really nice collectible piece, in good condition, for just a few pounds. At some point, this would have cost someone, I don't know what the Notorious Edition probably launched at, but it would have been in excess of probably £80 or £90, I would have thought. Yeah, and I paid £5 for it. So a really nice little collectible piece for the shelf, primarily, but also a game that I don't mind, you know, having a go at some point in the future. You know, Saints Row, I always thought was a bit of a budget Grand Theft Auto, and I know they went in some different routes with that game in the latter series. And I know this isn't the, as I said, the kind of the tentpole version, but we'll give it a go and we'll see what it's like. And then the other one that I picked up for similar reasons, I already actually own this on the PS4. I've never actually played it yet, but I hear incredibly good things about it, so I do at some point want to get around to it, was Guardians of the Galaxy, again, on the Xbox, and again, a collector's edition. And again, repeating myself, this was priced at, I think I paid £8 for this, which I think is what the standard version was going for. There was just one of these in my local CEX, and again, excellent condition. I'll show you again in the B-roll, but it you know, kind of comes in this really cool collectible box. There's a steel book in there, there's an art book, and it's all in there. Obviously the DLC's been used, at least I assume it has. I haven't tried it. But again, just for a few pounds, this one's going to look great on the shelf, and I guess perhaps differently to Saints Row, this actually is a well thought of game, and one that I am at some point very keen to put some time into. I do like the Guardians films and that character group as a whole. Not a lot left actually, so it's a relatively small pickup this month, but 2 games from 2 of my favourite franchises of all time. And these are brand new releases, so if you've been watching the channel for a while, you'll know what those favourite franchises are, and you've probably guessed what these games are, but let me show you them anyway. So the first one is Gears of War Reloaded on the PS5. Now, when this was first announced, I didn't know how I felt about it. I think I said in a previous video, I wasn't sure how I would feel about playing Gears of War on a PlayStation, and if I'm honest, I wasn't intending to buy it. I was going to play it on the Xbox. I decided, as I do collect the Gears of War games, and it's a franchise that I love, that I wanted to own it physically. I own the Ultimate Edition that came out on Xbox a few years ago, and I went about trying to find where I could buy it. The problem is, for some reason, Xbox have decided not to do a physical release. So the only place as a collector that I could buy this on a disc with a box that I can display is on the PlayStation. So as I have kind of pivoted to PlayStation anyway, as my mainline console in recent years, I thought we'll give it a go and we'll see how it plays. I've done the opening chapter. It looks stunning, it plays really well. It's the Gears of War you remember. It does feel a bit weird with the PS5 controller, and I have to say, I still prefer, despite the extra technology that's in the PS5 controller, the Xbox controller as a general control platform. So I don't know, we'll see how we get on with this. I will absolutely complete it because it's a game that I've completed, one of the few games actually I've completed multiple times. It's a nice length from a time poor person's perspective, and it's a game that I love, and I really hope that we get a Gears 2 and 3 remaster at some point, because I would love to play those games through as well, although it's going to feel increasingly difficult to go from the latest, greatest rehash of that title back to the Xbox 360 to play the previous one. So we'll see where that goes. So Gears of War Reloaded, which of course can only mean one other game, you know, in terms of my purchases here. And, you know, again, you will know my favourite franchise if you've been watching long enough is Metal Gear Solid. So it has to be Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater, or Delta, as this one has been called. I bought the collector's edition. I thought it's a special edition. I can't, no, deluxe. There we go. Get the naming right, because annoyingly, the deluxe edition is the best we can get in the UK. I know there is another version which is designed for, I think the US have got it, and a few European countries, where you get an actual bust of Naked Snake, which I would really like to get my hands on, but unfortunately I can't get it in this country. So I've bought the deluxe edition. I am going to keep an eye out on eBay and other places to see if I can get hold of that bust at some point in the future. But again, I'll show you kind of what's in here. There's a nice steel book, a little bit of nostalgia, a few cards, things like that. And there's also a keyring and a badge, which again, I'll show you in the footage, so you'll have seen all of that. Very much looking forward to starting this. We'll probably stream at least some of it. Part of me is kind of toying with the idea of doing, multiple evenings while I try and complete it. I actually have to confess, I never finished Snake Eater back in the day. So I loved Metal Gear 1 and 2. I got really excited for the release of 3, but then when it came out, I'm not a big fan of that kind of prequels or early stories or origin stories. So I struggled a little bit with it. And it's the one game in that kind of story arc that I'm interested to go back. For similar reasons, I don't think I ever really got into Metal Gear Solid 5, but that's another game that I want to maybe carve some time out for in the future and properly invest in. And then the last thing isn't really a game, but it's old and it's collectible, at least to me. And I don't know what made me think about this recently, but I was thinking about and reflecting on Killer Instinct on the Super Nintendo. And back in the day, when I bought my copy of Killer Instinct, or I had it for Christmas, I think, it came with a CD. And if you had this back in the day, you'll know the CD I'm referring to. It was called Killer Cuts, and it's not even the soundtrack, because of course the 16-bit platforms didn't play music like this, but it's versions of each of the characters' level tracks with lyrics and songs, and kind of turned into a little album. And I think I may still have my original copy somewhere, perhaps in the loft, but I don't know that with any certainty. I found myself on holiday recently looking around on eBay for a box version of Killer Instinct that came with the CD. Couldn't find one, at least not at a price that I was willing to pay. A lot of the buy it nows were crazy expensive. I own the cartridge anyway. I would like to get the box at some point for display purposes, but in the meantime, I picked this up, and I think it will make it easier for me to find a box version of Killer Instinct at some point in the future, a little more affordably, that I can then pair this with. So I played it recently, put it on my little CD player in my home office here while I was just kind of pottering around, and enjoyed listening to some Killer Cuts. I think I paid about 20-ish pounds on eBay for that, so not cheap, but it's in good condition, and it fully works, and yeah, brought back a lot of happy memories listening to that one, as I'm sure I used to play it quite a lot as a child. So those are my pickups for the month. As I say, nothing too kind of extraordinary there, but I'm actually really pleased. It's a smaller haul, but a more meaningful haul for me in many respects. There's not a lot of filler there, maybe with the exception of that Saints Row. But that for me is more about the box and the presentation than anything else. Thank you for all the feedback on my last video, which was the kind of channel update and what I'm thinking of doing in the future. I actually recorded that before I went on holiday. I've had a couple of weeks while I've been away to really reflect on what I'm doing with this channel, and the time commitment and kind of what I'm hoping to achieve with it. So sorry about that. I was mid-flow then and my battery cut out. So as I was saying, while I was on holiday, I kind of reflected a little bit on just what I'm doing with the channel, kind of content creation in general, how I enjoy doing it, but also sometimes how challenging it is to come up with interesting content, for weekly videos. So what I've decided to do is to take a little bit of that pressure off myself in terms of creating something every week for the sake of it. And instead, I'm going to try and concentrate on a mixture of kind of shorter form, quicker content that I can produce and just kind of release more regularly. So it might be that I don't release something every Sunday evening, for example. I just kind of release things as I make them, so they can be a bit more in the now, maybe reactions to industry news or releases, as well as taking a little bit longer then over some of those bigger projects. So I am attempting to tackle a 3D printed model of Lara Croft, which I actually saw a YouTuber called Ground Affected, fantastic artist, do one of these, and I tried to buy it from him actually, funnily enough, but also unfortunately when he was having a bit of a sale, I missed out on it. So I've decided to have a go at doing it myself. It won't be anywhere near as good as what he can do, but I've never printed like a large scale model and painted it before, so I've only ever really done miniatures, so that should be fun. I'm printing a Metal Gear Solid Grey Fox helmet, which not quite to the same scale as the Helldivers one, that I want to have a little mess around with and maybe even do some electronics in, so that's another project I'm thinking about. I've also got a GameCube mod that I'm going to be doing at some point soon. I shared a picture of that on my Instagram, or a part of what that journey is going to be. So I guess what I'm saying is I am going to sort of change up the format just a little bit, try and do a little bit more streaming to fill those gaps when I don't have weekly releases. I'm going to be moving things like RetroQuest, which is quite a lot of work to create, and the ones I've done more recently haven't done particularly well, and I honestly haven't enjoyed doing them as much as I used to. So I've decided I'm going to change that format a little bit, and so rather than sort of producing a dedicated 15-20 minute video about a given game, I think what I was really hoping that series would do was enable me to revisit these games and just kind of enjoy playing them again and give me an excuse almost to do that. I'm just going to stream them instead. I'm going to pop them on a stream, play for a couple of hours, chat with anyone who wants to come and chat and share memories about those games, and then leave them up for you to watch if you want to. Just because the RetroQuest episodes take more time than kind of almost any of my other content, and I don't really enjoy some of the production side of that particular type of video as much as I do some of the crafting stuff or even some of the sillier stuff I've done recently. So just a couple of updates for you there as well. If you've stuck around this long, then great, thanks very much. As always, I would ask, like and subscribe, support the channel in any way you can. Comment down below. I love the comments. I really love kind of interacting with people and seeing the positive messages. There were some really lovely ones that came on that channel update, and thank you if that was you that posted one of those. It gave me a real motivational pep. So yeah, really appreciate that. But again, just love that kind of back and forth in the comments. This community is kind of what I do this for. It's to meet more like-minded people, find ways to sort of share with you and enjoy the hobby that we all love. So thanks again if you were part of that comment circle. So I'll leave you there for this week's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, let me know what you think of the haul, anything in there that particularly stood out to you. Was Saints Row worth it for £5? I don't know, you tell me. But I'll leave you there. Have a fantastic week, and I'll see you in the next video.